Welcome back to Speak Up Queen, the podcast where we empower, uplift, and celebrate women who have reclaimed their voices to inspire others. Today, we are honored to welcome Dr. Elisabeth Pasaliku, a seasoned investment professional and financial educator who is passionate about helping women achieve financial independence. With a career rooted in research and practical business insights, Dr. Basiliku has made it her mission to guide others on their journey to wealth building through her signature program, Journey to Building Your Wealth Plan. As a CFA charter holder since 2007 and a PhD graduate from the University of St. Gallen in Switzerland, Dr. Basiliku brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to this episode. Whether through her insightful articles, conference appearances, or engaging podcasts, she's committed to demystifying finance and empowering women to take control of their financial futures. I'm so excited for you to hear her story and gain valuable insights into building your financial future. So, without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Elisabeth Pasaliku to Speak Up Queen.
Hi, I'm honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Marika.
Just a pleasure. Elisabetta, what was the most challenging limiting belief you had to overcome? And how did breaking free from it help you reclaim your voice?
Well, as I was thinking about this podcast, I kind of like went down memory lane and remembering, all the things that I had to endure in an industry that is male dominated because, the financial sector is, yeah, pretty much 95% male. And so it's challenging when you are a woman in finance. And so um, looking back and seeing where I am today and what I'm doing today, I have to say that the most challenging, I guess, belief was to believe in myself that I was, competent to be in the sector because the early years were challenging in the sense that I had several experiences that made me believe that I was not at par with men. Because, starting from, so I have this mixed background where I have a PhD, so I have an academic background, but I always, for the most part, um, worked in the sector. I did teach here and there, but my main roles were in the sector. And so, but I did attend conferences because I have a passion for research. So even though I was working in the sector, I attended many conferences. And for example, there I was asked many times whose wife I was because my peers at the conference couldn't think or believe that I could be there as one of their peers representing the industry. Because oftentimes the partners, mainly the wives, because again, it was mainly like, out of 100 participants, it was 95 men and 5 women. So the women that were there were, yes, they were wives, but they weren't even thinking that someone could be there representing the industry. So that obviously can have an impact. uh, and so that was one thing, and then I had other instances where I was literally silenced, like your podcast um, uh, talks about. So yeah, that was, I had to work hard on my confidence level to regain the the awareness that, I studied all these years. I I have many qualification. I perform well in my tests, so I can do this on my own, for example, which is what I'm doing right now. But it took a long time because of all these episodes. One time when I was consulting for a firm, so I wasn't an employee, but I was consulting for a firm, And I remember the CEO got really upset with me because a client approached me to sit on their investment committee. And it was something separate from what the financial firm consulting was doing. And as a consultant, I was free. You know, there was nothing in my contract that would prohibit me to also take on an extra job with any of their clients. And because it was something totally different, it wasn't replacing their job, it was a different role. And I remember coming in one morning in the office, and I was a morning person, so I was there very early, and I was one of the first one. The CEO, who usually came in much later, came in with another person, and they brought me to his office, and he told me that, you know, he heard that I was invited to be on a committee for this client, and he threatened me that, I had to not accept that job, because it was, he told me because it's our clients. And then when funny story, the client who wanted me on their investment committee called me and he said, "I'm sorry, I know what happened. I know that the CEO is not happy that I asked you this. You should know that I have nothing against you, and I would like you to come, but there is this very delicate situation, and you should know that the CEO told me that you are not you are not qualified for this job," which I don't believe. And he told me that he should hire him, not me. So, and this is, I want to say it's pretty normal, it's pretty normal things that happen. And so the sum of all of these things got me to a point where I started wondering whether I was qualified. And so it took a while. But eventually, I was able to be less emotional and more rational, and little by little regain my confidence and got myself to being fully self-employed, choosing my clients. And now I started being more digital and working online. I love it because I think that in the online space, there's no discrimination really. And so women can thrive and then they can regain their voices. And so now I'm back in power to to say and share my knowledge with the world.
Oh, well, I just love it, but it is just a normal thing. I spoke yesterday to one of the speakers, and I said to her, "Women had to fight for so many rights, with that we don't know. We need to go back in history and say thanks for all the women that really fought for our rights." And I love history, so it was like, it was just amazing to hear these stories. It was scary that us as women now growing up, we could have our own bank account. We can do it. Oh, we have our own businesses. It's just so what? I don't believe that in some places it's still happening. So yeah, it is really shocking. But yeah, thanks for sharing that. It is incredible how much strength it takes to challenge those deeply ingrained beliefs. And I'm sure so many that's listening today can relate to the courage it takes to break free from all of those limiting beliefs. Can you share a moment when someone's words or actions made you feel small and how you found the strength to rise above it?
Well, I think that definitely what I just shared was probably the worst that I experienced. I had other episodes, but this was the worst. And as I said, I did feel very bad for a while, for a few weeks, I want to say. I did feel small, and I almost felt wrong in the sense that, oh my God, maybe I did something wrong by accepting the offer, of joining this investment committee. And it took me a while, but then I had a friend and she said, look, I don't think you did anything wrong. The client confirmed that, you did, that he was by your side. But if it makes you feel better, why don't you just approach a lawyer and just ask him, because, I needed, although sometimes, it feels like, it felt almost like, too much. I said, well, do I really need to ask to a lawyer? But then I'm glad that I did, because it cleared up. I'm a researcher, I'm a math and number person. I need data, I need confirmations, and it may not be the same for everybody, but obviously my brain needs that. So hearing from the lawyer that yes, I didn't do anything wrong, there's nothing in my contract that would prohibit me from doing that. In fact, he said, um, you can accept any job that is proposed to you, and you don't have to tell them. He said you should go on that investment committee. You shouldn't care about these people, and you don't even have to tell them. But deep inside myself, I did what I thought it was fair. I said, I'm not gonna take this mandate until I am done with this client. And I didn't want to have anything more to do with them, so I turned in my notice. But I waited 3 months. It was a 3 months notice, and then after I was out, then I went back to the client that offered me to be on their investment committee, and we worked nicely together, and in a very efficient and nice way. And so yeah, that was my way to resolve the situation. Yeah, I don't know whether it's useful. It's a very rational way, but for me, gaining that clarity and that peace of mind that yes, I was, but clearly, as I said before, that was in retrospect a loss of confidence, in myself.
What safety resources, spaces, or tools have been most impactful for your healing journey?
I have discovered that taking care of myself more is a very good healing tool. And for me, taking care of myself means that I try to go and do walks every other day. So I do 1 hour power walk in nature by myself. That is a very has been a practice. I have it. It started off as a new thing. It has become a habit. I'm a big fan of habits. I speak a lot about it in anything that I share, and it's true also for your self-care. I think that if you make it a habit, you win. And so that is definitely something that I do, and it's helpful. It has been helpful and continue to be helpful. While I walk, I listen to a number of podcasts and that are around meditation, and I'm a strong believer in quantum physics, so I try to listen to as many as possible to keep my confidence up.
And it's just amazing how many resources out there really is. Because when I was 17, I didn't know anything about podcast or self-help books or anything like that. I really want, when I was 30, I discovered when I started my healing journey, there's personal development books. There is women and men that have already walked the walk and sharing their knowledge. There's meditation. There is walking in a, there's self-care, all of these things that I think it was, no one brought it awareness to us as children, even though it was maybe a top priority to do take care of yourself, to have boundaries. Yeah, it's just now it is like so much easier for women to have a safe space to share their story, to have a safe space to listen, to read. Yeah, it's just amazing how much resources we have and that some people still aren't aware of it. Especially if you're on your healing journey. Some people just don't know yet. But this is where Speak Up Queen comes in, where women all around the world share their tools, their resources, their stories, so that we can learn from it. So yeah, just thank you so much. What's one powerful lesson you've learned about self-worth, and how do you carry it with you as you continue to grow and inspire others?
So lesson about growth, self-growth.
Yes.
Well, I think that connecting the dots on what we have shared so far, I want to say that to me, investing time in learning is the best investment. So, and it's a little biased coming from me because learning is my passion. I studied a lot and the work that I do almost forces me to read and continue. Continuous learning for me is important. What I have recently discovered is that I ventured out of my field and I started to, when I became more like of an entrepreneur, I discovered that I needed other tools and other competencies on top of what the technical aspect of my job. Because on the technical aspect of my job, I can say that I know a lot. But then there are other soft skills that you need to learn. And so I think that I don't know, what your audience is it more employee based or is it entrepreneur? Is it a mix?
It's women all over the place. It's women all over the world. There's women that is
Yeah.
just starting their healing journey that doesn't even know about how to become financially independent. It is business owners.
Okay.
It's women.
Okay.
We are just, this place is just for women everywhere.
Okay. So, well, definitely for me, again, for someone like me who is very financially literate and financially independent, I had to gather around and learn more soft skills. Self empowerment, self growth, self care. Because as someone who tends to be an overachiever and work a lot, when you are on your own, you need to take care of yourself. Because if you start from an empty cup, you're not able to stay focused to achieve your goals, etc. So you always have to fill your cup. In terms of, what I want to say, considering my background and trying to empower women, if I just can say a few things about what I do and share, because I think it's very important. What I found is that, or not me, but I should say what research finds is that women are less financially literate than men. It's interesting and it's a paradox because at the same time, there is research that shows that those women that are educated financially, so they actually work in finance or they invest for themselves, they're as good, if not better, than men when they invest. So you see, there is a paradox on one side, there is few women that know finance and investing, but those that do, they do very well. So we need to raise the rates around the world of financial literacy for women. It's the first step to become financially independent. And so that is my mission and my goal, my passion is to raise these rates. But as you say, there are a lot of resources out there. I want to leave with this message. Make sure that those who are listening to us, just go on Google and write financial literacy self-assessment. A few researchers found out 5 questions, designed 5 questions around the main 5 pillars of being considered financially literate. Take that self-assessment, start there. See where your weaknesses are, and then again, use the power of the web to search for the resources. There is this center, it's called the GFLEC, and it's out of Stanford, and it's the Center for Financial Literacy Excellence. There's plenty of resources to self-educate yourself on the basics. Because if you know the basics, then you can start taking control of your financial life. It's very important to be financially independent for women because you don't have to depend on anybody else, right? And I'm a strong believer that women should be independent, even if they're married, even if they have wonderful husbands. I think being able to say, I am free to choose because I have financial independence is pretty powerful.
Definitely. If you could tell your 17-year-old self one thing, what would it be and why?
If I could tell what?
Your 17-year-old self one thing, what would it be and why?
Well, I would say it's gonna be okay. It will be okay. Believe in yourself, follow your dreams. Don't let society block you from, achieving what your goals are. One of the reasons why in certain industry, in certain areas, women are underrepresented is because of societal norms. And it's a shame, it's a shame that women are categorized and are directed in certain areas and not in others just because, it has been done that way in the past. And so, yeah, I would tell myself that to just, and I have to say, I was lucky because I had wonderful experiences. I left my family and went to a different country for 10 years, and my family, supported me on that. And so that was awesome to be able to do that, because traveling and being in a foreign country for a long time obviously opened my mind. But I know that it's not super common. And so yeah, but in certain areas I had, as I share, I had to go through a number of challenges, and so just reassuring myself that it would be okay.
I love it. How do you set boundaries to protect your energy and peace? And what have you learned from this practice?
So yeah, I apply certain rules. So for example, in order to achieve my daily goals, I try not to spend too much my time on social media. I use social media only for work. I think that it is a big energy disruptor. So because I said I am a strong believer in habits, and like in saving and investing, to be successful, you have to develop habits. I do the same with this. So for example, I don't keep my phone next to me. I leave it in another room when I have to focus. Um, I turn it off at night because I don't want, I don't want to be, I take my sleep very seriously. And so, again, I, I think it all boils down to giving yourself certain rules, whatever it works for you, because what could work for me, it might not necessarily work for others. But my advice is just because each of us know what boundaries we need in any field. We may not like them, but we know of them. And so I just say, write them down on a piece of paper, whatever distraction you may have, and then just act upon it. I want to give an advice and a suggestions. Read the book, The Power of Habits. Um, it's gonna change the way you think and view things, and it's very, very useful to in many areas of our life.
I'm actually looking at my books and I'm like, I think I have it somewhere.
Okay.
I think I have it somewhere in here, but I will definitely have to have a look. And otherwise I will have to get it. How do you define thriving today? And what mindset shifts or practices helped you embrace that definition?
Sorry, can you repeat the first part?
How do you define thriving today? And what mindset shifts or practices help you embrace that definition?
Okay. Well, so thriving today means for me the ability to be a present mom, because I have a 5.5-year-old. Um, so he's my main why, and it was one of the reason why I started, as I said, becoming an online entrepreneur, a digital entrepreneur, because I wanted to gain more time freedom for myself, for my family, for my son. And so that is, I think, the main shift that happened since leaving corporate and since reducing the consulting work and working more on automation systems so that I can have more time for my family. And the mindset shift for me has been to allow that for myself, because as an overachiever and as someone who was working in a very competitive in an industry, I had to um, become more aware of the importance of time freedom first, and then make sure that when I had reached the pockets of time freedom in my day, that I would actually use them, and I would not, you know, say, oh, but I can do this and I can do that. And so that for me has been the biggest mindset shift. And I think it's also related to how women think, because, you know, we do so much. We work, we take care of the family. Our DNA is, I think, programmed to work hard all day long. So for me, the mindset shift has been to just give time back to myself and my family.
Oh, I love it. What made you decide to be featured on Speak Up Queen, and how does it feel knowing that there's a safe space for women to share their stories and inspire others?
Well, when I saw and read about your podcast, I immediately felt aligned with what you're trying to achieve in your goal. And I think it's very important to share the stories, because when we hear other people share their challenges, their difficulties, first of all, you recognize yourself in the other person, and you start thinking that you're not, you know, you're not alone in what you're experiencing, and that there's other people that went through the challenges, but they were able to overcome the challenges. So, you know, I think it's very, very important. I think the job that, you know, that this podcast is amazing. You picked up a great topic, a great title. You are able to summarize what unfortunately a lot of women go through, and it's unfair. And I have come to, you know, in my process, where I was silenced, I felt small, and then I almost had the opposite reaction, where now I feel that I have to speak up at anything that I don't feel is right. You know, it's almost like maybe too much, you know, because now I'm like, you know, oh, this is not right. I need to speak up about it. But I think that once you overcome the feeling of being small, it's you find inside yourself this power of regaining your freedom, your competence, your confidence, and you also start realizing that you have to do something for the others that are still in a place where you were in the past.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing your incredible journey with us today. Your story is really a testament to strength, resilience, and courage it takes not to only heal, but to thrive. So to everyone listening, remember that your voice matters, your story matters, and together we can inspire change. If today's episode touched your heart, please subscribe, leave a comment, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. So until next time, Queens, keep speaking up and stepping into your power. So much light and love to you all.